Hi everybody, today is November 4th, 2013. Chicago, Illinois earthquake today. Quarry blast prompts confusion. They evidently had a blast at a local quarry, which was initially believed to be a 3.7 earthquake, but the massive blasting actually created aftershocks. A massive Chicago, Illinois quarry blast today, November 4, 2013, began within the hour. Initially, not only residents but also the USGS thought that an earthquake had hit. Officials now confirm that the shaking in Illinois was initially from a quarry. But that blast is now, in fact, causing aftershocks throughout the area. Initially, USGS indicated to the news that a moderate and shallow earthquake began just after 12:35 in Chicago, Illinois today. But roughly 30 minutes later, the USGS revised their listing for the quake to call it a quarry blast. While this activity was revised, so was its location. Officials have said that a quake struck just below the Earth's surface in Indian Head Park. They now confirm that the quarry was in Countryside, Illinois, and struck at ground level. The quake was 1 mile south of LaGrange, 1 mile southeast of Western Spring, and 2 miles southwest of Brookfield. The Chicago Tribune spoke with a Hinesdale police officer who confirmed local blasting today at the quarry. But the facility was not named in the news report. The officer said the department had been notified that there was blasting at the quarry today, and they immediately got reports from concerned citizens. Very strange. Yeah, how could USGS be so far off in their reporting? They said it was a depth of 1.0. And here's the location that they're showing. Magnitude 3.7. Very strange. Alright, bookmark my site. I'll keep you up to date. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is November 4th, 2013, and here are your news updates for today. Well, I'm looking in my... Let me see which way... Okay. Look in the window. There's someone in that window. Right there. What the hell is that? What is that in the window? It looks like a person. Alrighty then. Spooky, huh? I don't know. Wasn't good. It was very clear a second ago. Alright. What's going on? Oh, man. I have a crazy life. Alright. Well, keep your eye on that window. Alrighty. I don't know what that is. Alright. Here's your news updates. I thought Halloween was over. I guess not. I don't even want to turn around and look. I mean, it's very clear a second ago. That's why I hit the button to start recording now. Alrighty then. Keep an eye on that window. What is that? Alright. Here's your news updates for today. Oh, it blew my mind. Okay. The Watchers watching the world. Largest ever recorded solar flare in history. The X whatever mega flare. Now it's about 10 years ago. And it wasn't totally Earth directed, but it caused a lot of problems. Alrighty then. And it was from active region. Let's go back here. It was from active region 10486 and peaked at 1950. 1929 UTC time is when it started. Alright. Awesome. PARS aerial rescue robot tested for the first time. CAP-CNC. Also, new miracle material poised to alleviate the global water and energy crisis. Also, it must be Tesla stuff. Also, more earthquake swarms reported in Yellowstone during October 2013. Heads up. I'll say it again. More earthquake swarms reported in Yellowstone during October 2013. Alright, moving on. The cat's running around like crazy. Alright. Next. The Extinction Protocol 2012 and beyond. Doomsday volcanoes on the planet are waking in record numbers. Is a new supervolcano forming in Chile. Alrighty then, heads up with that. Let's move this up. November 2nd. Wyoming Yellowstone National Park is the largest supervolcano on the continent and possibly the world. Alright. Lava pool beneath Yellowstone supervolcano twice as big as previously thought. Okay. There's something else I saw here. Supervolcano remnants found in Maine. Maine has supervolcanoes. And then it says, wait, Maine has volcanoes? Yes. So heads up with that. Also, it's been a while since I went on to the Extinction Protocol 2012 and beyond. Also, what else do we have? 6.4 magnitude earthquake shakes archipelago of Tonga. Alrighty then, moving on. Breaking news, breakingnews.com. Alrighty, now, 22 minutes ago, witness armed man in Paramus, New Jersey mall was strutting by and talking to himself as he fired. Heads up. So, a guy was shooting in a mall in New Jersey. Also today, what was that? I guess it's Cal State Davis. Or is it UC Davis? I guess it's UC Davis. Okay, let me see. It just moved right in the middle of reading it. It disappeared. Let's see here. Let's see. I guess it's UC Davis. Something's going on over there where someone tried to blow up UC Davis. But they caught the guy. Also, TEPCO. Something's going on with TEPCO. TEPCO to conduct fuel rod removal tests for Fukushima reactor number 4. Coming out of Japan Daily Press. Yeah, we all remember Chernobyl, right? Chernobyl was a test too. You know that, right? So they're going to do it, call it a test, and something probably will happen. How's that one? Yeah, I don't see it. Went way down now. About UC Davis. There it is. This is people are still on lockdown. This is... Oh. Arsonist tried to blow up University of California Davis fraternity, police say. That's coming out of LA Now 54 minutes ago. Righty then. Let's get rid of that. Hard to read. Every time they post something new, it just starts moving and moving and moving while you're trying to read it. Alrighty. Let's see. E&E News. Oh, you know what? Let me go here. it's before it's news. November 5th. This was off of beforeitsnews.com. November 5th, the worldwide hacker group called Anonymous says that it will target government facilities all over the world. This is tomorrow. The video above says of itself that it is a call to relight the flame of protest. Then it says, do you see a possible false flag event blamed on Anonymous for hacking the grid? Alright, heads up on that. I guess Anonymous is gonna, I think they're doing the DC march and they're all gonna wear their masks. Kevin Blanche was talking about that. What else do we have today? Thank you, Tippy. Tippy stuff. Alrighty. There was something else on here. Let's see if we can go back to that. FUKED. I want to. West Coast. This is coming out of Before It's News. Fooked. I'll pronounce it that way. West Coast evacuation may be needed. Most terrifying situation I can imagine. Okay, that's actually they're posting something from E&E News. There's a story below from E&E News is eye-opening and tells the latest worst-case scenario coming out of Fukushima, Japan, from an award-winning scientist who warns us that the entire west coast of America might have to be evacuated due to Fukushima and the fuel rod crisis at Reactor 4. Okay. Also, there were starfish pictures, and they were tearing themselves apart also, on top of everything else. The melting, and they're probably trying to get rid of the part that's melting, so they start tearing themselves apart too. So there's pictures of that somewhere. We'll try to find those later. Alrighty then, let's get rid of this. Some crazy stuff going on. It just keeps getting stranger. Okay, today, excuse me. Deep magnitude, okay, yesterday. We'll just do yesterday, and I'm going to scroll upward. Deep magnitude quake jolts eastern Japan. RT. Highly dangerous fuel rod removal will not permit even the slightest tremor at Fukushima plant. Also, ABC correspondent. Nobody knows where Fukushima's melted cores are now. Expert says TEPCO emitted fuel is actually eating through the concrete. Hopefully it's not eating through any further. Thought that was a long time ago, man. I thought it was a melt through, meaning it went through everything. Fukushima workers, I wanted to escape from nuclear plant, but feared they might hurt me. At parties, we were forced to eat radioactive mushrooms and bee larvae gathered from inside evacuation zone. They called my mother to tell her I was in trouble. Oh, so what they're doing is taking these workers, telling them probably that they're going to die anyway, because they just were exposed to a lot of radiation, so they should help humanity. Is that what's going on? I'm sure Miss Milky the Clown's probably going to show this one. This would be terrible. When is someone going to do something about the crimes against humanity in the world over there at Fukushima? When's someone going to take care of that? I don't ever want to hear about all the children, and we worry about the children, but the children are sure getting irradiated in Japan, aren't they? Oh, we worry about the dolphins. We worry about the ecological, oh, the ocean. And you know what? You're just letting them all die, aren't you? And letting the starfish melt. Right? What a load of baloney. And oh, it might, and also the fuel cords might have melted through now. What kind of gibberish, jibber jabber's going on over there? Someone gonna go do something or what? Now they got like people imprisoned, forcing them to work there, telling them they're probably dead anyway. That's what they're probably doing. I wouldn't doubt it. Nuclear expert invited by Japan. Melted fuel may have sprayed up rather than flowing down at Fukushima, not known where molten mass went. Japan nuclear engineer. I don't think they'll ever get Fukushima's melted cores. Will probably start covering reactors in concrete. German expert. May encase areas in sarcophagus. Yeah, a day late and a dime short, huh? Postponed. Fuel removal attempt at Fukushima Unit 4 delayed possibly for weeks. Government Safety Agency wants tests conducted as another M5 quake hits eastern Japan. I thought Unit 4 has been on fire more than once. Once that goes, you can't really stop it, I thought. What's really going on at Fukushima? ABC Radio. Cancer cases in Fukushima emerging faster than expected. Japan surgeon. I'm very angry. It's very strange. Officials won't release basic data. Well, then why don't you just get your own data? Do your own testing. Right? What basic data do you need? It's ongoing. How can you say there's lack of data? It's been ongoing for more than 960 days now, hasn't it? You can test at any time. There's no lack of data. There's probably an excess of data because the thing has never stopped. All right. Moving on. That's one scientist to another. They're so full of crap. Photos. Sea star began ripping itself into pieces like a horror movie. AP. Deaths from Alaska to Southern California biologists. Related to an environmental change? Oh, I wonder what change that would be if you had all the radiation coming over. Didn't a barge come over and end up somewhere over by Oregon? From Japan? Where is all that debris? It's there. It's under the water. It's probably stuck underneath the shelf. Want to bet? I bet the debris is there underneath and hung up on the shelf. An early warning that we aren't picking up on. Professor, none of us had ever seen anything like this before. Yeah, the professors and whoever else. Professors and Marianne and whoever else and Ginger. Guess what? You're subject to the cancer too and the leukemia. Alrighty then? So just keep talking about how you don't know. Because sooner or later there's going to be less and less professors out there too. Isn't there? They'll all be on sick leave. That's what's going to happen. Wow. Sardine population plummets along U.S. West Coast. AP. Collapse of species feared. Canadian Pacific fishermen catch no sardines in 2013. Alrighty then. I guess that's just about everything. I'm sure there's more, but I can't think of it right this second. But alright. You take care. Be prepared for anything. Faces in the window, you know, right there. Like a person standing there with their arms crossed. It was very clear. That's why I hit the button right away. It looks like he's wearing like a white shirt and a tie. I don't know what that is. But it's facing inward to the... Must be a drone or something. Something going on out there. I don't even want to look. Alright. I guess you gotta use the poopy paper tonight. We better not go outside. There's something out there. Alrighty then. Oh. And before it's news they were saying, and they're coming. Alright, that was another article about how ISON might be a diversion for the big UFO that's coming. Alrighty then. Take care. See you again tomorrow on the flip side. Be safe. And always look at the reflections in your windows before you go outside. No. See you on the flip side.
My name is Ernest Sternglass. I'm professor of radiological physics, emeritus of the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. And I've been concerned about the effects of radiation on human health for many decades. As a matter of fact, it goes back to the first years when we built a house here in Pittsburgh, and we were asked whether or not, well, everyone was asked to build fallout shelters, and that's how I began to become concerned, because until then I was working mainly on X-rays and diagnostic radiology, trying to reduce the dose and get better pictures. But when I heard about fallout back in it was about 1960, 61, and I was here president of the local chapter of the Federation of American Scientists, and so we all became concerned, will fallout shelters protect us from all this bomb fallout, or if there were an attack on Pittsburgh? And we looked at the recently declassified data on fallout, and we concluded, all of us, that there's no way to survive. Even if you survived miraculously in a bomb shelter, the entire environment would be contaminated. And that is how I began to realize that our government was not telling us the truth about the seriousness of low-level radiation exposures. Because at the same time, in 1960, 61, I found out about a paper by Dr. Alice Stewart in England that was reported at congressional hearings about the need for bomb shelters. And in that paper, it showed that when a woman receives just a couple of X-rays during pregnancy to find out the position of the baby or the size of the opening, the canal through which the baby has emerged, it turns out that she found that women who had received X-rays during pregnancy had twice the risk of developing cancer in their children, that the children before age 10 developed leukemia and cancer at twice the rate than a control group of women who had the same background and same history, same age and everything. And so we knew all of a sudden that very much less radiation is needed to damage the infant in utero. Because for many decades, since the beginning of the century, 1895, when X-rays were discovered, we had always taken diagnostic X-rays, chest X-rays, dental X-rays for granted. In fact, I remember as a young boy walking into shoe stores and watching my toes through the shoes, wiggling my toes. And so my father was a dermatologist and talked to my mother, who was a gynecologist and pediatrician, about the danger of X-rays, that he had to repair skin cancer that had been produced by other doctors using X-rays to treat acne. And all these mistakes in the early years of medicine led to our beginning of our understanding that radiation is both a benefit and a source of great concern if it's misused. And so I was, in a sense, programmed from early childhood to be worried about X-rays, having learned about it at the dinner table when my mother and father discussed it. So that was one thing that made me decide to investigate what happened after bomb fallout came down in the United States. And in fact, we didn't have any real data at the time about how many children would die of cancer after the bomb testing, but Dr. E.B. Lewis at Caltech said there would be a significant increase, and so did Linus Pauling, warn everyone about the danger of fallout. And so I wrote a paper for Science in June of 1963, in which I pointed out that if Dr. Alice Stewart's findings of just a couple of X-rays, which give maybe 1 or 2 rads compared to the 1,000 rads that the government thought we could survive after coming out of a bomb shelter, that 1 or 2 rads doubled the risk of cancer and leukemia in children, then the bomb fallout, which was being produced by a gigantic nuclear detonation by Russia in the fall of 1961, and it was enormous. The fallout gave everybody in the northern hemisphere the equivalent of an abdominal X-ray, the equivalent of 2.5, 3 years of natural background radiation. And so I wrote a paper and predicted that there would be an increase in childhood leukemia and cancer all over the world. And unfortunately, this later on turned out to be true. But what I did is, because I had a friend who was a friend of a guy who was in the White House as science advisor, I consulted with him and showed him the paper. His name is Dr. Ralph Lapp, and he had written a textbook on radiation. And when I showed him Alice Stewart's findings and showed him the huge dose from a bomb test, that we really have to end bomb testing. And so he helped me to get the paper published, and I sent a copy of it to the White House in the spring of 1963. And at that time, President Kennedy, just after the missile crisis in 1962, wanted to end bomb testing. The military wouldn't agree to end all bomb testing. In fact, even recently, our Senate refused to ratify a treaty to end all bomb testing. But he at least managed to convince Khrushchev that they should end bomb testing in the atmosphere and underwater and, in space. And fortunately, he was very involved himself, because as a young man, he had been misdiagnosed as having leukemia. And also his wife was pregnant at the time. And therefore, he was particularly concerned. And right after my paper came out, he addressed the nation and said, "We want to end strontium-90 in the bone of our children and leukemia in their blood, and therefore I will negotiate a test ban treaty with Khrushchev." And he sent the governor of New York to Moscow, and it was signed. And then he faced the fact that it had to be ratified by the Senate. And so he arranged for hearings. And the first time, and the only time since then, in the history of our government, that radiation was being regarded as of concern to the government. And so the hearings by the Joint Committee took place in August of 1963, and a number of scientists from St. Louis, from Harvard, and myself were invited to testify about the need to end bomb testing. And that, fortunately, got a lot of women concerned enough to march around the White House with baby carriages and send letters to the senators and demanding that they ratify the treaty. And fortunately, one of the last things that Kennedy did before he was assassinated was he signed the test ban treaty, which was approved and ratified by the Senate. And that may have been the biggest legacy that Kennedy left behind, because since then we've learned that during the time of bomb testing, not only did his own baby die that summer at birth, but all across the United States and around the world, infant mortality had stopped declining. But I didn't find that out until 1968, another 5 years, when I went back to work on my, concern about reducing diagnostic X-ray dose and so on. I decided that everything, I talked about it in public and Congress, and so I hoped that they would certainly lower the permissible radiation doses and end nuclear bomb testing. Fortunately, they did end testing in the atmosphere, but they began a series of underground tests all through the 60s, which I only heard a little bit about. But not until 1968 did I hear that there was an increase in leukemia in Albany, New York, which is, very strange. And it turned out it was after a bomb test in Nevada that drifted all across the United States and hit a heavy rainstorm, thunderstorm over Albany, and it came down, and there was a professor of chemistry, radiation chemistry, who had a bunch of students in a laboratory in Troy, New York, right across from Albany, and they found all their Geiger counters were going mad. They had enormous increase in sound in count rate. Well, they called up the Atomic Energy Commission lab in New York and found out there had been a bomb test in Nevada, 30,000 tons of TNT equivalent that drifted all across, Kansas, Missouri, Pennsylvania, New York, and hit a thunderstorm in Albany, New York. And that led to an enormous local increase, just like near the bomb test site in Utah, where many people had for years been getting these bombs. But this had not been recognized, except for Ralph Lapp pointing out that these occurrences did take place, these fallout episodes, localized, where rain came down, because 90% comes down with rain and snow. And so we encountered the possibility, and he urged, looking for cancer increases in Albany. And I did indeed find there was a significant increase, almost a doubling, in the number of childhood cancer cases 4, 5, 6 years later, just as Dr. Stewart had discovered for medical x-rays. And that caused a lot of concern, with a lot of upheaval, because I gave this talk at a meeting of the Health Physics Society, where people were hoping that they could have the benefit of nuclear energy forever, replacing dirty coal as we have here in Pittsburgh, and have unlimited energy forever, by using breeder reactors and all those things. And then I come up with this finding that tiny amounts of radiation, 1/100th to 1/1000th of what it took to increase double the rate of cancer in an adult, caused a doubling if it was given to the baby in the first 3 months of pregnancy, in utero, in the mother's womb. And that caused a big controversy. John Goffman, who worked at Livermore, a professor of the University of California, Berkeley, he had accepted a position in Berkeley, in Livermore, to look at the health effects of nuclear bomb for peaceful uses. We were going to build a Panama Canal with detonating a string of 100 megaton bombs. And so he had the job of seeing whether or not this would produce any effects on human health. Well, of course, he knew it would, but he was shocked to find out how big it was. And then, when the Atomic Energy Commission heard about my paper being published in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist, showing that infant mortality and leukemia rates rose, and not just a little bit, by a huge amount. In fact, I calculated by 1969, 68, some 400,000, 380,000 babies in the United States died in excess of normal expectations, because, it had been coming down, and then suddenly it leveled off and began to rise, and then after the bomb test ended, it started and resumed its decline. So it was pretty obvious that it was bomb testing and not something else. But of course, the Atomic Energy Commission and the people in the nuclear industry, just starting to build big reactors all over the nation, were very upset by these findings. And so this created a huge controversy, and John Goffman was asked to look into it. Well, he did. And when he concluded, together with his people, he had about a group of 30, 40 people working for him, that there might be an increase of 4,000 or 8,000 additional infant deaths as a result of bomb testing, they wouldn't let him publish it. They said, no, 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 you just write a paper saying Sternglass is wrong, but don't mention any of your own data. And so he said, no, I won't do that. And he eventually became a whistleblower. In fact, what happened is they took his money away for his people, one after one, and all of a sudden, after years of working on the effects of low-level radiation for Livermore, he was on his own again, and he went back to Berkeley. The government did not want to know how serious the effects of bomb testing were. And that was the beginning of the story. But John did something else. John Goffman was a very, very conscientious person. He was both an MD and a PhD in physics. And he decided to look at what was happening from nuclear reactors that were just being built at the time. The first reactor was built here in Pittsburgh and got going in about 1958. And he concluded that by 1968-70, from the nuclear reactors that were then operating, about 20 of them or so, he said there would be something like 32,000 extra cancer cases every year.